This Friday, I faced my narcissistic ex-husband in court. My testimony was very good. I felt so satisfied walking away from that trial, and my lawyer gave me that feedback as well. Even though it will take 2 weeks before the sentence is delivered, I feel confident enough to still make this video. That's how confident I was in my testimony. Facing a narcissist in court. Is there anything more scary than that? Well, I think that this is a bit exaggerated. We think that narcissists we paint them out to be scary, unpredictable, and impossible to defeat. Because that's the way that we felt when we were in the relationship. But when you're meeting them in court, you will have the upper hand, and I will explain why in this video. I'm Emma, a medical doctor and abuse survivor. Let's get into it. What was so good about my testimony? I was able to present the story, my story, in a proper context, quite short and to the point. I was able to answer all questions from the prosecutor, from my own lawyer, and from my ex-husband's lawyer. And I was able to answer them in a clear manner and actually leaving my ex-husband's lawyer without anything to say. So his part of the interrogation was quite short. I was able to present myself calmly, non-triggered, reasonable, while my ex-husband, as the trial went on, unraveled more and more. It took me work to get to the point where I could go into a trial like that and make that awesome testimony against him. And I will tell you how I was able to do that, because the last time that I saw him, I couldn't even clearly speak what I wanted, and I had been extremely broken down in a relationship that lasted for 21 years, and that started when I was 15 years old. So I was used to him being the dominating. I felt, as I was going to court on Friday, I felt terrified about facing him. I had barely slept the night before, and I didn't know what to expect, because anytime that I tried to face him before, like all those years, anytime that I had tried to get justice or tried to make him be reasonable, I had failed, and I had been humiliated and ashamed and blamed, and it had ended in emotional chaos for me. So meeting him again, even though I knew that I have the evidence, I have the witnesses, I have my story, I'm just sharing the truth, I was still terrified of meeting him and didn't know really what to expect. Narcissists, according to many experts, go to court more often than the average person. And when you are in a relationship with them, that means that they will often drag you to court more often than the average person. It's common after a separation that you might have to meet them in court when you're getting a divorce, splitting assets, family court when it comes to custody and visitation of kids. But you may also have to face a narcissist in court because they have committed some criminal act against you, or because they are accusing you of having committed a criminal act against them. You go to court. First, you have to think a bit about your appearance. Wear something that is slightly formal, but you don't want to look like a lawyer. The lawyers often have a white shirt, jacket, their hair up. They should look a bit more formal, but You want to be seen as mature, reliable, put together. This is actually what I wore to court. So I have a black jacket, but underneath I have something that's a bit more informal, beige, and some flowers to signal softness. I wore my glasses. When it comes to interviews, it has been shown that if you have glasses on, you're more likely to land a job. So I think it signals trustworthiness, and I usually have my glasses. I can't see without them, so that's natural for me, but I chose not to put in any lenses. Makeup, you want something very neutral. You don't want to put on a lot of makeup. And then should you have your hair up or down if you're a woman? Well, that depends, I think. Because I have my glasses, I think that it still looks formal even if I have my hair down. And I also, during the last 2 years, I gained a lot of weight, so I feel that my face is a bit puffy. And keep having my hair up, I think makes me look a bit older. So I wanted to show the difference between me. I'm younger than my ex-husband, and I wanted to show them that from the beginning it was an unequal relationship where he groomed me and tricked me. I have a video about that if you want to watch it later. So I did put some thought into what I wore to court. A major thing is that you will have to share parts of your story. Depending on what the charges are, why you are going to court, you will have to point at different areas. So talk about it with your lawyer. What are the points that you need to show in order to get an outcome in your favor? If it comes to, for example, child's custody, you have to show that you are a responsible parent. And preferably you can show and point to a pattern of him being uninterested, irresponsible, perhaps putting them at risk or threatening them, and so on. Your job is to present truth. But the truth is so big, and your story, if you have lived with this man so many years, there are so many things that you could tell the court, but you don't have that much time. So you need to be able to condense the story and just share the relevant parts of it. And that is very, very difficult, especially if you've gone through trauma and you are having difficulty sorting the memories yourself. You have also been conditioned to excuse his behavior, to minimize the bad behavior, and to blow up the small deeds, the small good deeds that he's doing. You have become normalized to living with a person who acts in ways that are not okay. So it takes a work and processing to get to the point where you can share the story properly, and that's okay. It's okay that you might stumble or fumble, or it's okay that you might not be able to express it. That may also be something that you show to the court. If the trial is about something legal like stalking or abuse, then showing that you have been severely affected, crying and things like that is perfectly fine. It might be weird actually if you go into the court and are completely calm and don't show any emotions. So accept where you are at in your healing journey. How you are testifying will be different depending on how much time that has gone by and where you are in your journey. If it is in family court and we're talking about custody, you should tone those parts down, I think. because probably he will try to paint you out as being hysterical, exaggerating, or lying. To be able to tell your story clearly and to summarize it and to be able to share the relevant parts, I think that you should, if you are not doing it already, journal. I have a video, and I will link it in the end, where I talk about how journaling has helped me and how to implement it in your healing path and why it is an essential tool. I will link it in the end and in the description below. Why is it so scary to meet a narcissist in court? Well, they are usually doing anything they can to win the case. They don't care about what is true. They will lie about you. They will perhaps mix in some facts with lies and present that. Depending on how intelligent this person is and how low they will go, so how malignant they are, they might come up with different schemes to try to make the court see you as irresponsible, accuse you perhaps of being an alcoholic or a drug user or mentally unstable and so on. When in reality, that mental unstableness that may actually be there is part of their abuse. If they are saying things like, well, she is mentally unstable and so on, if they are presenting facts, if they're pointing to things and mixing it with lies, acknowledge the truth. So you can say that, yes, I have a therapist and I'm working through the effects of the abuse that happened to me during that relationship. It is not your job to defend him. So when you are presenting your side of things, you don't need to take up all the facts that might put him in a better light. Be fair and reasonable, but remember that your vision of him is skewed since the relationship, where you see the small kindnesses that is actually often just him doing part of his responsibility and not even doing like the full extent of what a proper father should do. Try to put things in a perspective. Speak to someone who has an equal relationship where the parents are contributing and cooperating. And you will see that often the things that you think he did and that was good is actually much less than what the proper parent should have done. In order to support your side of things, you have your testimony. If you have some facts, present them. If you have some witnesses supporting your side of the story, use them. It may be family members, but what is valued higher than a relative is if you have a teacher, a neighbor, a doctor, someone who is a bit more objective, who can testify in your favor. Think about beforehand what arguments he are likely to claim. What will he say against you? And if possible, prepare for those events. So what will you say if he says this about you? Do you have any evidences to counter that? Are there any weak points in your story? Think about it. He won't hold back. Go through your positions and think about if you were the counterpart, if you were a person who held no moral boundaries. So if you would be able to do anything to take yourself down, what would you do? What would you say to try to make the court think that you are a bad person, that you are a liar and unstable or untrustworthy? What are the things that he could use? What would you use if you were him? And what are your strengths? What can you point to try to counter that? If the court sees that he is pointing to things, he's making things up, and you have evidence to support the opposite, or you have witnesses to support the opposite, that will be a major blow for him. Narcissists don't like truth. They don't like light. They don't like to be exposed. They don't like to have to explain themselves, especially when there are facts that they can't explain away. They are entitled. They don't like someone telling them what to do. If they feel like the spotlight comes onto them and they are the one that are getting judged, they don't like that. So anything that you can bring forth that will put that spotlight onto them, that will show a truth about them, as long as you're not seen as petty, use it. Don't hold back either. What they did, if there are things that they did that is true, it's not your job to keep their secrets anymore. It's not your job to stay loyal to someone who abused and used you. Telling the truth doesn't mean that you shouldn't prepare. Even if you've lived it, even if you know what is true, prepare, because the court also needs to see what is true. They need to see your honest statement. They need to see that you are calm. They need to take a look at the facts that you are presenting. And they will counter that with a person who don't have the truth on their side, who might make big claims, a person who's trying to hit you under the belt. And it's your job to make them see that difference. I know that some people use beta blockers or something to calm their nerves before the trial. I did not use anything like that. That meant that I couldn't sleep the night before, and as I was walking into the court, I was nervous, I was shaking, and my heart was pounding. But that was all my body preparing, the adrenaline rushing. And when it was actually my turn to testify, I was calm and I was able to concentrate and focus and think, because you need your mind. You need your mind to be able to quickly assert the situation and present the part of the story or the facts. You need your mind to be able to answer the questions. Even though I did not use anything to calm my nerves that day or the night before, for weeks before the trial, I had trouble sleeping, and I did use antihistamine and some melatonin to help me sleep during the nights. And I also took some day off from work, both before the trial and after. I was able to do that. And it was to be able to prepare myself and have some time to rest, because this was really, really stressful, and it took a lot to be able to do this, and I'm so relieved and happy that it is over. Just as when you are preparing to make a public speak, it is good to imagine yourself delivering it beforehand and being successful. It is good to walk into that room and to sit down and breathe and calm your nerves before it is your turn. To take a look at the people who are there. You can do simple breathing exercises to calm your system. For example, breathe in at 4, hold for 4 seconds, and then breathe out for 4 seconds is one of them. Hold your hand against your thighs, like press them down, for example, or like push some acupuncture points. You shouldn't fiddle with your fingers. Don't look nervous, but try to calm your body. Try to be mindful. Feel your feet against the floor and try to relax your shoulders before it is your turn to testify. Something that really helped me and that I believe in is prayer. So I don't know if you saw, I posted in the community post here the day before, I asked for prayers. I believe that this was one of the things that really helped me. As I said, I was nervous walking into the court, but that nervousness just quieted down when it was my turn to testify. And I think that it was God helping me and putting the right things to say in my mouth. Just because you're getting help from God doesn't mean that you should not prepare. It is like the story of the talents. You have to use what you have been given. I have to use my intellect. I have to use my words, my story. I have to use what I have, and then I can also pray. I got a tip from a viewer to read Psalm 27, and it was really, really great. It was a psalm that I have skipped over, but it was so helpful and gave me peace before this trial. And I also read Psalm 23 and 91. And another viewer left a prayer on the community post that I actually read right before it was my turn to testify. And I was so lucky because we were going through the evidences, and then it would be my turn to testify, and then my ex-husband, I think he was getting nervous because he asked for a break, and the judge was a bit annoyed because he insisted that he needed a break. But then she said that, yeah, okay, we will take a break. And during that break, I was able to sit and breathe. And I think that my testimony would have been not as good if that break had not come. And I think that's also part of the divine help, me getting exactly what I needed at that point where I needed a break. In a court, you're often not allowed to speak freely, so you're getting questioned and led through the conversation. But there are instances when you can put your answer into a context. And it's okay to repeat yourself and try to keep it short and, as I said, relevant. Try to not babble. It is hard for people to understand what you are saying if you continue to talk and you're bringing in a lot of facts and events. So, for example, I have full custody now over our kids, and this trial was about stalking. And I knew beforehand that one of the arguments that my ex-husband will bring up is that, well, I had to contact her because of the kids. So my counterpoints, which I said during my statement at different times when I got questioned, I told the court that, well, the kids had their own cell phones at the time and he was able to call them. That was one point. And I was able to tell that in just 2 sentences. Another point was that, well, he sent me hundreds of texts and emails, and it was sent at awkward hours in the night. He contacted my family. I did not feel safe. So that was another point that I needed to present to the court, that it was a large number of contacts, that I didn't feel safe. That is important in stalking cases, that I was scared. I felt terrorized. I didn't feel safe in my home. The defense also argued that, well, he had to contact me in order to schedule to see the kids. I was worried about this point before. Right now, he can't see the kids. But during the timeline where the stalking was happening, that was on trial now, he could have seen the kids if he wanted to. So, and he did a few times. So I don't need to explain everything, what happened over the years, or that he is not in contact with them now or why. I could simply answer that I did not prevent him from seeing the kids, because I did not during this period. And if they would have asked me to expand, I would have had to expand it. But you can first answer shortly and then you can expand. So I was not lying. I was telling the truth. And I was telling the relevant truth. And I had evidence to support it in writing and in witnesses. If you have a trial coming up against a narcissist, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Do your best. Stay calm. Prepare in advance what you can say, the things that are in your favor. Present them. Collect evidence if you have it. It's okay if you get nervous. It's okay if you can't answer a question. You are doing your best. You have advantages that they don't have. You also have insight into the techniques and the manipulation that they will play. I had truth on my side. I had evidence and I had witnesses. Getting through a trial, that was a major step. Waiting for the sentence, that is the next step, but at least I know that I did my best. If you didn't watch it, I would recommend that you take a look at this video about journaling. Also join me on Thursdays for the lives. It is at 5 p.m. Eastern Time or 10 p.m. Central European Time. I am Emma holding up a light over the bridge. See you in the next video.